How can you capture a person in an image? If you are a writer, you can describe a person and you can describe his feelings, his ideas or his thoughts, but in a picture you need other tools. I was a freelance portrait photographer for newspapers and magazines. And there was always this expectation from the people that you photograph, and people start to become very conscious about themselves. But I was always looking for the naturalness of people. I always was struggling with that idea that people became someone else in front of the camera. So I took 2 months off, but that very last day of that 2 months, I had a bicycle accident and I broke my hip. Then I had to swim for rehab every day, and then I thought maybe I should make a self-portrait. After swimming 30 rows, I wanted to see if I could capture myself at the moment that I was just too tired somehow to strike a pose, and that the pose would arise more unconsciously. So that actually was the first step to the beach portraits. Actually, I started to photograph all kinds of people, families, older people. But then I thought that the young people are in this moment of transition somehow, that they are less defined, that are still don't know exactly who they are. I noticed that in the United States that people were so much more aware how they wanted to present themselves. And then when you come to Poland, I mean, that was really 3 years after the Berlin Wall came down, you really still felt that influence of communism. There was a lack of media, there was nothing, so people didn't have that references yet. By isolating the people from their environment and leave everything out which is not important, and makes them also in a way more abstract. You know, you don't have any reference from where they come from. So you can look at people without any prejudice. All the focus is on the figure itself and on their posture, on their gestures, on their facial expression. I think it's about careful looking at people. I always have to like them in some way. They have a special appearance or a special presence. That's important, that there is some understanding. I think that even when I don't take a photograph, I just look at them and I try to really observe them and to see how they stand, what's their posture, how do they look. I use a 4x5" plate camera. It's on a tripod, it's big, it's slow. It's a slow way of working. There is always a kind of a conversation. I have to involve them in the picture. So somehow I have to reconstruct that moment that I observed already. But it has to come very natural. I mean, I don't do Photoshop, so I cannot combine different images together. Everything which you capture, this can happen at that specific moment. And that is for me also the power of photography. I never thought about art history when I was making these images. The photo of the girl in the green bathing suit who was pretty shy when I took her picture. She reminded me already on the Renaissance paintings. So when I came home, looked at the contact sheets, I only make 4 pictures of her. And I thought, wow, that's a beautiful pose and reminds me on something. And I looked in my Jensen art history book and there she was, the Venus of Botticelli. I mean, so it was not intended. Not even in her posture, but also if you look at the clouds in that picture, which is a total coincidence, of course, because that's something what you really cannot control. And also the hair, there's a sort of a wind blow, and everything came so nicely together in that image. I was fascinated by the small painting, which is called Enchanted Boy by Ferdinand Hodler. Full length, the age, the way he's holding his hands. And he's holding something in his hands. It's like flowers, but it could be also something different. So it's quite, you don't know exactly what's going on. But it was his son. I think his name was Hector. By isolating him from his daily context, somehow he's lived up from reality. It becomes somehow a little bit mystic, but also sort of abstract. So it brings up all kind of feelings and ideas. I think that also in my pictures, and you can really say something with these little details, these little gestures. I really like the paintings of Johannes Verspronken. What I like about his paintings, that the people he portrayed are really very present in the pictures. And it's like if you meet them, encounter them. With the painting of the woman in the armchair, he really captures something of her personality, and it was probably a working commission. Painters at that time really has to please the client and to make sure that they were happy with their image. So I think this picture was much stronger because it was not so flattering. It was more her personality, and she has quite a strong personality. And I think that's why it works so well. I think I try to make images where everyone can connect to or reflect himself in. So it has to be universal in a way. At the same time, you have to be specific. If you look at the persons, you really have to capture their presence, who they are. This posture, their gaze, the little gestures, which makes them more personal and more individual. In one sense, you look for universality, and on the other hand, you really look for individuality. And I think that's that combination that's really important for my pictures.